22-year-old Nigerian founder, a Silicon Valley billionaire who helped build the surveillance engine of the American military, a data intelligence firm that has tracked terrorists for the CIA, mapped battlefields for the Pentagon, and now, quietly, methodically, is wiring a continent. Africa is industrializing faster than anywhere else on Earth. New mines, refineries, power plants, transport corridors, nearly $100 billion flowing into infrastructure every year. But that wealth has a shadow. Terrorist groups linked to ISIS and Al-Qaeda now operate across an arc stretching from Mali to Mozambique. In 2025, militant Islamist violence killed nearly 24,000 people across Africa, a 24% increase from the year before. The Sahel alone accounted for 41% of all such deaths, a position it has held for 5 consecutive years. And into that security vacuum has stepped a new kind of power. Not a colonial army, not a foreign aid mission, but a network of Silicon Valley defense tech investors, Palantir-linked venture funds, and autonomous weapons startups, quietly betting that the future of African security will be written in algorithms, data fusion, and AI-powered surveillance. This is the story of how Palantir's inner circle is reshaping Africa's modern security architecture. And at the heart of it all stands a company called Terra Industries and its 22-year-old founder, Nathan Nwachukwu. To understand what is happening, you first have to understand the scale of the problem. Across West Africa and the Sahel, the security situation has been deteriorating for a decade. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, northern Nigeria, these have become the new epicenter of global terrorism. According to the Global Terrorism Index 2026, 6 African countries ranked among the 10 most terrorism-affected nations worldwide: Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, Mali, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Sahel region alone accounted for more than half of all terrorism-related deaths in 2025. Groups affiliated with Islamic State and Al-Qaeda are not only surviving, they are spreading. In response, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has declared a regional state of emergency. It has proposed a counter-terrorism force of up to 260,000 troops, with an estimated annual budget of $2.5 billion. But military force alone is not enough. That argument, intelligence over firepower, is the exact logic that built Palantir. Palantir Technologies was founded in 2003 by Peter Thiel, Joe Lonsdale, and Alex Karp, with early backing from the CIA's venture capital arm, In-Q-Tel. Its platforms, Gotham for defense intelligence, Foundry for data integration, and more recently, the AIP, Artificial Intelligence Engine, allow militaries and intelligence agencies to fuse vast, fragmented datasets into a single operational picture. It has been called the AI war brain. By 2026, Palantir projected revenue of $7.2 billion, a more than 60% increase from the prior year, with US government revenue alone soaring 84% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2026. Now that same intelligence-led approach is being transplanted into Africa. But Palantir itself is not setting up a local office in Lagos or Nairobi. Instead, the vector is more subtle and more interesting. On January 12, 2026, a small Abuja-based drone manufacturer called Terra Industries made an announcement that sent ripples through both Silicon Valley and African security circles. It had raised $11.8 million in a seed round led by 8VC, the venture firm founded by Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale. The round also included Valor Equity Partners, Lux Capital, SV Angel, LeBlanc Capital, Silent Ventures, Nova Global, and angel investor Mickey Malka of Ribbit Capital. In under 2 weeks, Terra would add another $22 million to that round, bringing total funding to $34 million and giving the company what its founders called the fastest double close in African venture history. But the headline was not simply the money, it was who came with it. Alex Moore, a defense-focused partner at 8VC and a non-executive director at Palantir, joined Terra's board. A Palantir board member now sits on the governing body of a Nigerian defense tech startup. That is not a passive investment, it is a strategic alignment. Terra Industries was founded in 2024 by 2 young Nigerians, Nathan Nwachukwu, 22, and Maxwell Maduka, 24. Maduka is a former Nigerian Navy drone engineer. Nwachukwu, at the age of 15, lost his eye in a freak accident and fell into a coma. That early brush with mortality shaped a founder who thinks in terms of survival, both personal and national. Nwachukwu's argument is simple and urgent. Africa is industrializing at a breakneck pace, holding roughly 30% of the world's critical mineral reserves and attracting close to $100 billion annually in infrastructure investment. But insecurity is the single greatest threat to that progress. Unlike most African startups which focus on fintech, logistics, or e-commerce, Terra builds hardware. It operates a 15,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Abuja, which it calls the largest drone factory on the continent. It designs and manufactures autonomous surveillance drones, AI-powered sentry towers, unmanned ground vehicles, and maritime surveillance systems, all integrated through a proprietary operating system called Artemis OS. Artemis OS is the brain. It collects surveillance data from every sensor, aerial, ground, fixed, analyzes it for threats in real time, classifies intruders, estimates their numbers and weaponry, and alerts response teams. The company has already deployed its systems to protect infrastructure assets valued at approximately $11 billion across Nigeria and Ghana, including hydropower plants, gold mines, and lithium mining operations. In May 2025, Terra won a $1.2 million contract against an Israeli competitor to secure 2 hydroelectric power plants in northern Nigeria. The competitive edge? Data sovereignty and a full-stack ecosystem, according to Nwachukwu. Terra claims to manufacture 80% of its components locally, offering prices more than 50% lower than international alternatives. The logic that drew Palantir-linked capital to Terra is not limited to one startup. It reflects a broader strategic shift. Africa is becoming a laboratory for next-generation autonomous defense systems. Across the continent, governments are pouring money into AI-powered surveillance, drone swarms, and predictive intelligence. According to a 2026 report by the Institute of Development Studies, at least $2 billion has already been invested in AI-powered surveillance systems across 11 African countries. Nigeria alone accounts for roughly $470 million. In Nigeria, the government signed a $190 million deal with UK-based Mars to implement the country's first fully integrated AI-enabled national defense architecture, a C4I system that links command centers, UAVs, sensors, and autonomous ground and surface vehicles into a single network. Meanwhile, US-based Textron secured a contract to supply Aerosonde Mk4.7 intelligence drones to Tantita Security Services, a private Nigerian security firm. DJI, the Chinese drone giant, partnered with Arco to supply enterprise drones for oil and gas security and pipeline monitoring. What is emerging is a multipolar arms race for Africa's security market. China, Russia, the United States, and now private Silicon Valley defense tech firms are all jockeying for position. China has overtaken Russia as the largest arms supplier to sub-Saharan Africa, with its share of arms exports rising to 19% between 2020 and 2024. Russia, for its part, has deployed private military companies and security for minerals deals across the Sahel. Into this crowded field steps Terra, a homegrown African company backed by the very network that supplies the US military with its most advanced intelligence software. Yet for all the optimism about local innovation, a harder question hovers over the entire sector. Who really controls the intelligence architecture? Palantir's software has been used to track undocumented immigrants for US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to build predictive policing systems for local police departments, to monitor Gaza, and to coordinate battlefield intelligence for the Pentagon. Its platforms are designed to aggregate, analyze, predict, and visualize enormous quantities of human activity and operational data. Now imagine those capabilities, or something functionally equivalent, operating in African security environments. Terra insists that its systems are built and controlled locally, but when a Palantir board member sits on the startup's board, and when the same Silicon Valley investors who backed Palantir, Anduril, and SpaceX now back Terra, the distinction between sovereign African security and an extension of Western intelligence architecture begins to blur. The turning point in this story is not a single explosive document. It is a quiet realization. The line between infrastructure security and military intelligence is vanishing. Terra positions itself as a commercial infrastructure security company. Its contracts are for protecting hydropower plants, mines, pipelines. But listen to its language. Geofence all of Africa's critical infrastructure and resources. Artemis Autonomy supports mission planning and coordinated responses across multiple assets simultaneously. Autonomous mission planning in large or remote areas. These are not the terms of a civilian security firm. They are the terms of a military command and control system. In June 2025, Terra won that $1.2 million contract for 2 hydroelectric plants. According to Nwachukwu, the plants have been used as hideouts by bandits and even some terrorists, making the project look like a frontline military defense project, even though it is packaged as commercial infrastructure security. Therein lies the ambiguity and the power. Silicon Valley defense tech companies have mastered the art of the dual-use label. The same AI that optimizes warehouse logistics can track insurgents. The same drone that inspects a pipeline can surveil a border. The same data fusion platform that protects a mine can map population movements for counterinsurgency. And when Palantir's Alex Moore joins Terra's board, That dual-use ambiguity is not an accident. It is the entire point. Meanwhile, Palantir itself is not staying out of Africa. The US Army's Southern European Task Force, Africa, CTAF-AF, is already operationalizing Palantir's Maven Smart System, an AI-powered analysis platform that provides near real-time alerts to shape the information environment across Europe and Africa. Palantir's Meta Constellation intelligence platform, designed to provide 24/7 real-time, high-precision satellite intelligence to users anywhere on Earth, is being integrated into US military operations with African reach. Africa is not on the periphery of Palantir's ambitions. It is a growth market. This is not an abstract debate about algorithms and investment rounds. There are real people and real consequences on both sides of this equation. On one side, the victims of terrorism in the Sahel, the Lake Chad Basin, Somalia, Mozambique. Nearly 24,000 people killed in 2025. Farmers unable to tend their fields. Children unable to attend school. Entire villages displaced by the advance of militant groups. For these communities, more effective surveillance and predictive intelligence could mean the difference between a warning and a massacre. On the other side, the citizens of countries adopting these surveillance architectures without robust legal safeguards. Across Africa, AI-powered surveillance systems are often deployed in environments with limited legal frameworks, weak oversight, and unclear accountability mechanisms. The Institute of Development Studies report found that none of the 11 countries studied provide adequate mechanisms for citizens to seek redress in cases of surveillance misuse or error. The risk is not hypothetical. Across the continent, digital surveillance technologies, introduced under the banner of national security, have been appropriated to entrench authoritarian control, suppress dissent, and silence political opposition. Biometric systems, facial recognition, predictive policing algorithms, all justified as tools against terrorism, have, in some countries, become instruments of state repression. Scholars now speak of digital colonialism, a new form of dependency in which African states outsource their intelligence infrastructure to foreign powers, creating structural reliance that reproduces historical patterns of domination. Africa is at an inflection point. The continent is industrializing faster than any other region on Earth. It holds the minerals that will power the global energy transition. It has a young, dynamic, increasingly tech-literate population, and it is besieged by a wave of militant Islamist violence that shows no sign of receding. Into that gap between threat and capacity has stepped a new kind of power, not a colonial army, not a humanitarian mission, but a network of Silicon Valley defense tech investors, Palantir-linked venture funds, and autonomous weapons startups. Their bet is that Africa's security future will be written in code, drones, AI surveillance, predictive intelligence, and that they should be the ones writing it. Nathan Nwachukwu's Terra Industries represents the most compelling and most troubling version of that future. An African-led company building African hardware, employing African engineers, yet funded by the very network that built the surveillance backbone of the American military and intelligence establishment. Is that a story of empowerment or dependency, sovereignty, or a new kind of indirect rule? The machines are being built in Abuja. The engineers are Nigerian. The data will, in theory, remain in African hands. But the algorithms, the cloud architecture, The board members with ties to US intelligence, the investors whose fortunes depend on America's military-industrial complex. Those are harder to localize. The Sahel burns. The mineral wealth of a continent is extracted under the watch of autonomous drones. Terrorists adapt, algorithms learn, and a new generation of African technologists must decide whether they are building a sovereign defense infrastructure or a franchise of the American surveillance state. The truth may not fully emerge for years, but the infrastructure is being laid now. And once a surveillance state is built, it is almost impossible to dismantle. The question is not whether Africa will have an AI-powered security architecture. It already does. The question is, who controls the intelligence and who gets to decide when the cameras turn off? Between January 12th and January 26, 2026, Terra Industries raised $34 million from the same Silicon Valley network that built Palantir, Anduril, and SpaceX. Africa's security future is being written now. The cameras are already watching.